Hello, I'm Dale Minnick, and I'm here in Dania, Florida, where we have a unique situation. We have a piece of Africa that has come into South Florida. Now that is to say that there are green monkeys that have been making their habitat here in the Dania mangroves for almost 45 years. Now these monkeys originated from East Africa, and they were imported over here for a zoo that is over here on Federal Highway that was called the Chimpanzee Farm. This is Kenny McDougall, who was an animal handler for the Chimpanzee Farm for almost 20 years. Kenny, can you tell me where these monkeys originated from and how they got here in South Florida?
They're African green monkeys, and they were imported here from Africa by a man named Armand Dennis. He brought them here in this country to sell to other zoos and pet shops. Excuse me.
Okay. How did the Chimpanzee Farm get started, and how long was it there?
It was originally called Barn Hills Indian Trading Post and Cabins, and the Indians set up there and sold their wares out front, and in the back they had an alligator pit, an otter pit, and miscellaneous animals from the state of Florida, and a gift shop, and it was a tourist stop. In 1939, Armand Dennis and Leela Roosevelt purchased the farm and started to import animals from all over the world, but primarily from Africa, and for other zoos and pet shops. And it was called the Dennis Roosevelt Chimpanzee Farm, Anthropoid Ape Research Foundation, etc. They did a lot of polio research on the animals through the years. The salt vaccine was primarily found and as a drug through the animals from the chimpanzee farm, from the chimpanzees. Nothing else that we handled there. And then in 1949, my sister and brother-in-law, John and Dorothy Ash, bought the chimpanzee farm and continued to run it through 1958 when we moved it up to Lake Wales. We also continued to export or import chimpanzees for research through all those years.
I understand there was a lot of studies and research done over there at that chimpanzee farm, which actually turned into pretty much a regular zoo, didn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was a regular tourist attraction. There was buses that came there. There was boats out of Miami and Miami Beach that came every day. We put on alligator shows for them, lion shows, elephant shows, and we had. It was a very large zoo. It was the largest zoo in the country at that time.
When was it exactly that those green monkeys got loose from the farm?
1947. We were imported into this country, and we put them in a large aviary type cage. One of the people that was working there was feeding the animals, either failed to latch it, which we used screen door hooks in those days, either failed to latch it, or possibly one of the monkeys was smart enough to unhook it, which is not very probable. And we assumed that he just didn't lock it as he fed them. And there was around 50 of them. We had 50 of them shipped in. They all got loose. We gathered them back. It took us about 3 or 4 days to gather them back, and we got them all back, but about 15 of them, near as I can remember. And then a couple others later, we did manage to catch or trap. And of course, we did not want to destroy them, so we just let them remain loose. They didn't hurt anything; it wasn't bothering anything. And they would come and take food out of the other animals' cages to eat and survive. And then they finally moved out into the wetlands on their own, and we just didn't see them anymore. Once in a while, someone around town would mention that they saw a monkey here or there, and I guess they grew into a pack as they are now.
Were there any other breed of monkeys that got loose at that time?
In the same era of time, the Wildwood Bird Farm had animals get loose from them. Squirrel monkeys, ringtails, marmosets, and that type, small, very small monkeys that were brought in mainly from South America. And he'd had them get loose at different times, and how many he got back, I couldn't answer that. But I would assume that he lost one here or there too. But we can account for any animal that got loose from us except for those African green monkeys. There's nothing else loose that we know of down there at all.
Why exactly did the chimpanzee farm close up?
Florida Power and Light Company bought the land out from under the zoo and forced the zoo out. We probably would be there still today if we could. Well, probably the people moving in would have moved us out by now, but no, we would have stayed there. There was no reason for us to move. It was a good business, and we had a lot of people working for us, and we had very good business. There would have been no reason to move whatsoever.
We have here with us Charles McEllier, who's pretty much known as Mac around here in Dania, who is one of the former mayors in Dania, and is also the president of the Historical Society in Dania. Mac, you've lived here quite a long time in Dania.
I'm a native of Dania. My mother and all were born here. My grandfather's first cousin was the first mayor of Dania, so we've had a few years here from the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're probably familiar then with this zoo that was over here that was called the Chimpanzee Farm that goes back quite a few years. Can you tell me a little bit about that, your first recollections of the zoo?
Probably back during World War II when they were doing the research for the Polio Foundation from Dennis Roosevelt. There's Armin Dennis Roosevelt. They had the chimp farm here, and President Roosevelt was doing some of the funding, since he was President of the United States at the time, to cure polio out of the place. The chimps we have pictures of in the Historical Society of them taking blood from the chimps and the actual cure was instituted here right at the chimp farm and went through the nurses and everything here. So it was quite a show there for many years, and it was quite a tourist attraction. They had the alligator wrestling, the chimps, and the spider monkeys, and the green monkeys, and numerous animals. It was elephants, lions, and you name it, they had it there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The chimps, they grow from the size of a baby up to a full-size 190, 200 pounds.
Yeah. There weren't any chimps that got loose, though.
There was some that got loose throughout the time, but they were all either shot. The police come out and shot one out of the telephone pole in front of my service station there in about 1951. Went up into the wires, and they had to take him down. And I used to have one come across the street every day to get a new grape out of my soda fountain. And he'd sit there on my shoulder or beside me and by the cash register and drink that new grape and put his arm around you and hug you, and then he'd decide to bite you on the ear, and it's time to knock hell out of him and send him home. He'd go right squealing right back over to where he come from.
The green monkeys are resting in the warm early morning sun before starting on their journey through the mangrove, foraging for food. Out of 36 species of the guanin primates, the green monkeys are just one of 47 subspecies. This monkey is tearing off the bark on a dead tree in search for insects, spiders, and grubs, which is a part of their diet that also includes many plants, flowers, nuts, fruits, and occasionally small animals. It is a hard life in these dense, entangled mangroves that is mostly swampy wetlands full of mosquitoes and other biting insects. The mangrove pods are similar to nuts and potatoes, full of protein and nutrition. The hollyberries, which are in bloom a large part of the year during the winter and spring months, are a plentiful food source in their habitat. Now, all the time that they have been out there in the mangroves and they've been foraging for themselves for about 45 years, they didn't have any problems because they had a lot of area out there to forage for their food. But now it seems like just recently, since they've been squeezed in a little tighter because of developing in the area through the years, that now they're wandering out into other places, foraging for their food into residential districts and commercial areas, and it has brought a lot of attention to them. So now as soon as the people start noticing the monkeys out in the open, they're so entertained by them, they start bringing around food and handing it out to them. And then that gets them in more trouble. Mac, do you think that these monkeys that have made their habitat out here in the mangroves are affecting the environment in any way or causing any problems with the community?
I don't think they're infecting the environment in any way. They may be causing a small problem at Wiener's mobile home with the people parking all over their parking lot and coming in here to feed the chimps at different hours, early morning or late evening. That Mr. Wiener wasn't too thrilled with them parking in his parking lot, but as far as hurting anything, I've never heard of one hurting anyone. It's a possibility, I mean, I don't know who would be liable, but I don't think the city would be liable, and I don't think it's just they're native out there.
Okay, Mr. Weiner, I wonder if you could tell me the situation here in your trailer park with these your colony of monkeys.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of publicity about it lately,
Yeah.
and I'd like to hear what you think about the situation and how maybe it can be solved.
The monkeys, they've been around here for quite some time, and as far as any quarrel with the monkeys, we don't have a quarrel with the monkeys. And the problem is the people coming here to see the monkeys. They're creating the problem. The monkeys have not attacked anyone. The only thing they have done detrimental is take someone's tomatoes, run with them. They want to eat. We have a tree here called the loquat. They love that. They love hibiscus blossoms. They eat that like candy. And the women folks, they get upset when they do this. And I've asked people not to feed them. They've seen the signs that they're posted, please don't feed the monkeys. This is private property. If you come on private property and if I see this, I do it gingerly. I know I'm not supposed to be here. They act as though they ought to be here, and you have no right to ask them to leave.
Yeah.
They're looking for the monkeys.
Yeah.
Now what right do you have to ask these people to leave?
We have Harry Averill here with us, who is a lawyer in the Dania area, represents some of the people that are involved with this, with these monkeys here that are running loose in Dania. I'd like to get a few comments from you about the situation, because of all these problems that we're having with the tourists that are coming over and you know, intruding on private property and everything. Everybody really loves the monkeys here, but it seems as though a problem was created because they're coming out into the public eye, and it's drawing a lot of media attention, and especially nuisance people.
But yeah, right. We haven't found one person yet who's come out adamantly and said, I don't want the monkeys here. The problem has been the two property owners concerned about their liability if someone were to be bit while feeding the monkeys on their property, which is a fair concern. But the problem has not been people adamantly saying, we don't want these monkeys around here, they're a nuisance. They're not really a nuisance. It's really become our tourists here, mostly in the winter months, in the fall, that have become the nuisance.
Right.
It's, quite frankly, at times during the season, or the tourist season, it's almost like a petting zoo over there. There are so many people stopping to feed the monkeys.
Yeah. Maybe biting a small child or something of that sort, and then they might have rabies. There's always that factor, too, that someone might be diseased with rabies.
Well, that's probably true with respect to all our wildlife in the state of Florida, and in this particular mangrove wood here, it's true with respect to our raccoons and the fox that live in there, that there's that potential. And they are, like you said, free-roaming creatures, and have not been really a problem, have never bitten anyone, as best we can tell. In the 40 years they've been here, there are no reported incidents of a monkey biting someone. And then the rumor, if you will, of them being contaminated with hepatitis, or with even some people in spreading a rumor that they might have the HIV virus. That's undocumented, unsubstantiated, and as best we can tell over the years, these are a healthy tribe of monkey that have been doing quite well and surviving.
Now they come out frequently during the day, but mostly they come out about twice a day, in the morning and in the evening about 4 to 4:30. And there's a lady here in the park that goes out and gets fruit for them and feeds them. And they can be fed, but they eat right out of your hand. See, they're actually not, they don't show any signs of being violent. And everybody in the park, as far as that's concerned, the people that live here, enjoy the monkeys, and they don't bother us at all. In fact, there's other animals in the mangrove down here. There's two species of fox, the red fox and the gray fox, and I've seen a couple of raccoons and squirrels, various animals, and they come out and they'll even play with the local domestic cats and have no problem with them. There's another group of monkeys farther down east towards the ocean in that mangrove down there, and we believe that that's a different group. And there was a fight between the two males as to the territory, and at one time they fought very badly until one of them was badly chewed up, and they found him dead over here. But they believe, everybody in the park believes that they belong to that other group down farther east here.
I see.
But there's been no fights. They're very playful, actually.
Now, who would you say is responsible with trying to keep those people out of here?
Well, if I had some help either from some county officials or the city of Dania, if they would send a patrol car around here once in a while, and if I'm having trouble, ask the people, please leave the property. If they're creating a problem, I don't want them arrested. I just want them to leave before something happens that they hold me responsible for. If there's some type of confrontation with, I've seen them even arguing here with each other about the monkeys and get into arguments and fighting here. I've seen them throw stuff down on the ground. I've seen them lay on the ground and put bananas on their stomach and expect these wild monkeys to take the bananas off their stomach. I've seen them hand peanuts and bananas to children to hand to the monkeys. And these are not tame monkeys. And I've asked them not to do this. They told me to mind my own business. They're not hurting nobody.
How about the people here that feed those monkeys? Do you think that maybe if that could be stopped, they might be able to fend for themselves in the woods there and not depend so much on coming out here for the food?
I think it would be very helpful that way. And I have tried to stop the people here. There's 2 or 3 that are very well known trying to feed the monkeys for their welfare. And I've spoke to them in the past and told them to please stop it. That it's creating a hazard here. It's creating a sideshow type affair for the animals and the people. And I think the people coming here are looking forward to the sideshow.
It's because they're concentrating in this one area here because this one woman who is called the monkey woman.
Yeah.
She feeds them every day.
Yes.
So they become dependent on that.
Well, they'll actually go up to her door and knock and pound on there until she comes out and feeds them.
Clearly worded warning signs. We are going to ask the state of Florida to put up signs by the state indicating that it's against the law and that to feed this wildlife, the monkeys in particular, and we're hoping that Florida Fish and Game will support us on this. Additionally, what we're going to have patrols of people in the neighborhood that will go by the habitat, the feeding area, on a regular basis at the time of day when these monkeys come out, about 5 p.m. to 6:37, and discourage people from feeding the monkeys and making a spectacle of the monkeys. And we hope that eventually the monkeys will go back into the mangrove, not come out to the edge of the mangrove for feeding, because the feeding is going to stop, hopefully.
Can there be any fines issued if these people don't abide by the rules and the regulations? Or is there actually a law where that can be laid down so that if these people abuse the animals in any way or feed them, can they be fined?
Well, we've been in touch with our Broward Sheriff's Office animal cruelty officer, and she's aware of the situation. She is going to try to assist us with the proper laws to use in a situation like this. But in the meantime, we are doing the research ourselves down at the library, the law library, to determine, among other things, what fines could be imposed. But certainly the state of Florida could impose fines if they were to put up their state statutes or state signs warning people not to feed the wildlife.
Do you think that Mr. Sands, who owns that property over there where most of the monkeys are concentrated,
Correct.
you think that possibly he could do something?
He could help if he wants to. I could suggest it to him. He's a very agreeable fella. I've known him for years. I don't think he would be any opposition to trying to solve this problem. He's open for suggestions. I think some other people have been asking, and the only thing I can think of to differentiate between his property and mine, try to restrain the monkeys onto his property, perhaps a 6-foot chain link fence, perhaps with signs posted that monkeys are dangerous, they are wild, do not feed, do not molest the monkeys, leave them be.
To date, the property owners have been very rational and very willing to listen to alternate ways to solve this problem. The way I foresee this being resolved is presenting the property owners with as much indicia or evidence as possible to convince them that their liability is de minimis, and that's through a collection of proposals or suggestions, not the least of which is a properly designated warning sign, ideally from the state of Florida, patrols in the neighborhood to keep people from feeding the monkeys, and the monkeys' cooperation by eventually realizing they're not going to get a free handout at this side of the mangrove and to go back in and fend for themselves.
That seems to be one of the important factors, is not to encourage them at all to get into the public eye.
Right.
So there's a few people there that would have to be restrained that have been accustomed to feeding them pretty regularly.
That's right.
And what is going to be done with these people?
Well, those people will, if they really do enjoy the monkeys, they like the monkeys, they're going to have to, if they're going to feed the monkeys, they're going to have to take the risk themselves and go deeper into the mangrove if they choose. There's a few paths that go back in there. They can go back in there deeper into the mangrove away from the public eye and feed the monkeys if they wish. But again, they have to remember they'll be trespassing on someone's land, and then that's an issue that they'll have to resolve on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe you have a point. If the monkeys were contained further back into the woods, away from the danger here of them doing harm to the people and the people doing harm to the monkeys, I think they would last another 40 years, definitely. And they are in danger to themselves coming out here, coming across this highway, coming across Dania Beach Boulevard. They're going to get hit.
Right.
And in fact, one this year has already been hit on Gulfstream Road.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It got hit. It's running over across the street, and this has to be stopped. It has to be contained. Get the monkeys back into the woods. That's where they were. Don't bring them out for the public to see.
How about this organization that came out here yesterday that calls themselves the Critter Control?
Yes, Critter Control.
Oh, what were they doing out here? And who gave them authority to come out here?
They came out asking about the monkeys, who owned them, was there any chance of them relocating them, okay? And they suggested that they had people who could come here from the north who would do no harm to these monkeys, which they promised, Dr. Sands and myself, that they would not be used for experimental purposes, medical purposes. They would not be experimented on, that they would find good homes for them, as long as they were healthy monkeys. Now, if they were sick monkeys, I'm sure the state requires that they don't let them cross the lines anyway. They'd have to put them to sleep. But if they're healthy, which they are, if they're childbearing, which they are, or excuse it, monkey bearing, they would keep them for breeding purposes, and they would not put them to sleep. And that they would use humane methods to capture them. They would not club the monkeys. They would use the latest tranquilizer, which would not overdose them, which management of Critter Control assured me in front of witnesses that these animals would not be abused. And that's the only reason I agreed, go ahead, see what you can do, but get all proper identification, notification, authority to be here and have this done before you try to take these monkeys. That it has to be done through channels. They said they would.
Yeah. Joe, I understand that there were some trappers out here yesterday?
I don't know. Yeah, I would say they're trappers. On the back of their pickup truck it said Critter Control. Critter Control.
Critter Control?
Yes.
I haven't heard of them.
Well, neither have I. That's the first time. And I stopped. I was coming in from shopping, and I asked them, "What are you doing here? What authority do you have?" And they sort of ignored me. They didn't want to answer any questions. But then a lawyer from across the street came over. He and his girlfriend or wife, and a couple other people from the park, and they were opposed to what they were about to do. They had a bunch of tracks in their truck and a big box of where they were going to grab some of them. I don't know if they were going to tranquilize them or how they were going to do it, but they didn't like the idea, and they were for taking the monkeys. And they didn't say where they were going to take them or how they were going to handle them, but we protested. We told them we didn't want it.
Well, that's how this incident began. I was leaving my office Monday night and saw 3 gentlemen in fatigue-like outfits going into the wood with nets and blowguns with tranquilizer darts, and I inquired as to what they were doing. They said we had been hired to clear the monkeys out, and I was a little incredulous and asked them for their paperwork, and they basically told me to beat it. So I called our local authorities. They came out, discovered after about 2 hours of discussions that they in fact were properly permitted. However, we got rid of them that night on the argument to the wildlife officer that, hey, they may be permitted and they may have permission for 2 pieces of property, but where's their map to show them as the hunters that they're not going to go into state land? And the wildlife officer scratched his head and said, you're right. And he told the guys, get out of here tonight, go get your map from City Hall and come back tomorrow. That gave us 12 hours, during which time I spoke to both property owners and had them revoke the permission they had given this critter control company. We have since tried to investigate critter control's background, as well as the background of the individual from Illinois who had the private zoo that critter control was going to trap these animals, give them to this individual from Illinois who was going to transport them to Illinois for use in a breeding type facility. We're looking into the background of both companies. Thus far, we are led to believe that the one company may not possess the necessary permits to trap and transport monkeys in the state of Florida.
Isn't this a touchy situation legally as far as who is going to give authority to the critter control to go in and capture these monkeys? Who would have the authority to do this, being that they're sometimes on private property and sometimes on the county property?
Well, surely if you were to have a piece of property and there was some type of nuisance, wildlife nuisance on your property, say possums in your attics, a skunk skunks in your basement, and you wanted them removed, you would have no problem doing that legally. You could call a company up like Critter Control and say, get these possums or skunks out of my home. The question in here, since the monkey is a roaming animal and does move from properties to properties, is what right do you possess for any period of time when these monkeys might come on your property? Do you have the authority to trap them, claiming that they are your property? And I dare say no. I don't think you acquire any ownership interest in the wildlife, and I know you don't. Just by virtue of the fact that a deer runs across your piece of land doesn't mean you own that deer anymore. The state of Florida or the federal government owns that wildlife. And that may be an issue we'll have to take up if push comes to shove. That is to say, prevent the property owners, if necessary, from allowing or giving permission to anyone to come on the property and take the monkeys.
With these monkeys having to forage for food now out of their natural habitat, they've been noticed more by the public. And as soon as that happens, it draws an awful lot of attention to them and they start getting in trouble. The people start coming out and they start giving them food and they want to be entertained by the monkeys. Now, aside from that, the monkeys get accustomed to getting the handouts from the people and they'll start changing their routes when they're doing their foraging. So now they've been making it a point to go along the fringes of the mangrove, hoping that they'll run into some people. And this brings them out into the roads where a lot of them get killed. And also there are people out there trying to trap them now. So it seems as though they're having more of a problem every day. And in order for them to be able to survive now in this habitat, I think it's going to take a little help from everybody.
But the fear of the publicity and people being made aware of the monkeys manifested itself last night, of course, as you know, when the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Wildlife Department apprehended three individuals who had trapped up to 6 monkeys at the time they were apprehended on Dania Beach Boulevard by luring them into simple cages with bananas, and had 6 at the time the officers arrived and our patrol spotted them. And
yeah, that was a terrible situation. So they were able to catch them.
Yeah,
and
release. They
let
did
the
release
monkeys
the monkeys. But
go.
we can't forget that the monkey is a source of food in Central and South America for a good many peoples that live here in Dade and Broward County now, and they hear of monkeys roaming around wild. They do come out to get land crabs on a regular basis, to catch land crabs to eat, and now they find out the monkeys are here, and it's a potential source of food for them. Those are 2 options. There's another option. They could have. They appeared to be people of Cuban descent. They may have been using them for the Santeria worship or the services, but practically speaking, I think it was either for food or for sale, because you can get a decent penny for some of these monkeys. That's 3 reasons why they could have been out here catching those monkeys: food, profit, or religious purposes.
We're here with John West here, who is with the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission. And we're out here in the mangroves where the Dania monkeys have their habitat. And it seems as though we came across something here which is one of the things that is kind of threatening the population of the monkeys. We found a trap here in the mangroves, and it's hard to tell if it was actually being used for monkeys, but it's very suspicious. Do you have anything to say about it, John?
Well, this type of trap right here is typical of the types of traps people will use for raccoons, possums, things such as that. but being out here in the mangroves, it possibly could be used to trap some of the younger monkeys. It'd be very difficult for an adult to get in here, but some of the smaller young ones that are more curious could possibly end up in this type of trap.
Are there any penalties at all by the state for molesting these animals or feeding them or trapping them?
Well, there is for trapping. If someone were to come in and trap these animals, take possession of these animals, they would be required to have a permit. These animals are Class 2 according to the state of Florida, and it requires a Class 2 license. In order to do that, you have to have had experience in these type of primates before you could possess one. So someone coming out here and generally trapping one, taking it home with them for a pet, would be subject to a $500 fine and 60 days in jail. It's a second-degree misdemeanor for just possession. And also, if they were to possess it, there's certain caging requirements they would have to meet. It's a whole list of things that most of the people don't have the experience to handle these.
Can you tell me how the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission got involved with this monkey population out here in Dania?
Basically with the airport expansion back in the mid-'80s. With the expansion of the runway, relocation of US 1 and the railroad, much of this mangrove area, the natural mangrove in South Florida habitat was encroached upon at that time. And these monkeys were in this area at that time, very less known than they are now. When the construction workers started building in the area or tearing some of the area apart, you know, to relocate the road and the runways, they came into contact with two groups of monkeys, primarily the squirrel monkeys and the guenons.
Is there a squirrel monkey population out here at present?
Yes, there is. It's mainly over near the Dania Cutoff Canal on the north side, basically where the old exhibit used to be. There's still a lot of native ficus trees in that area, a lot of fruit nurseries still in that area, and they like to inhabit the higher elevations. You know, being more arboreal, they stick with the high tree type nurseries.
Have there been any studies done in the past, or are there any studies going on now to determine what effect these monkeys are having on the environment out here?
Not at present, not that I know of. The Game Commission's not doing any studies at present. There's been some people from some of the local universities, either University of Miami or University of Florida, who have expressed interest in studying the Dania monkeys. But at this point in time, I'm not aware of any studies going on.
Do you know if the monkeys have had any impact on the environment out here since they've made this their habitat for about the last 40 years?
That'd be difficult to determine, not having any baseline studies on the area prior to that. The area was relatively untouched up until recently, and it seems as though the monkeys have kind of blended into the habitat. You know, they've made it their own habitat, and we can't really tell or make a determination whether or not they've had an impact, either detrimental or positive on the system.
There are some people that feel like they might be competing with some of the other wildlife. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's possible with any species. Florida naturally had a certain amount of animals in a certain area, such as this mangrove habitat. It evolved to sustain a certain types of wildlife. These monkeys, being exotic or non-native to Florida, when they're put into that environment, they of course have no natural predators other than man, and you know, they will take over an environment like that. It seems like right now the monkeys have blended in rather well. Other than possibly affecting some ground nesting birds in the area, maybe terns or things such as that, I'm not too sure what impact they would have had.
Since Westlake Park here has been developing a lot of wetlands out here, and they're expanding their park, do you think that there's any way that maybe they can be that the monkeys can be included in with the park system in any way?
Well, that would be up to the Broward County Park System itself. The state of Florida recognizes them as exotic animals, you know, non-native to Florida. So they're not offered the state protection that other animals like the Florida panther or manatee, animals such as that, are offered. It's possible that a local system could incorporate them into to their environment, but not at the state level.
Do you think that there might be some way that the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission or any other organization connected with the state can maybe designate this area as a wildlife refuge for the monkeys?
That's a very difficult question. We have a population of rhesus macaques on the Silver River up in Silver Springs, and there's a high bit of controversy there. Those animals have been there since the 30s probably, when the movies were being made in that area. And they've established two different troops and two different populations that are reproducing rather well in that area. And there's a push now to incorporate those into the natural system, you know, make them quote-unquote Florida residents, as it may be. I don't see that for the Dania monkeys, but you know, that's going to have to be pushed from a local level. You know, probably the city of Dania and Broward County. That would have to be done at that level.
With more development going on in this area out here, and with there being some future plans for expanding the airport again, do you think that these monkeys are getting more threatened and squeezed out of their habitat, where it's really going to be causing more of a problem?
It's as their land area becomes less and less, it reduces their home range. They're going to have to expand into other areas in order to forage for food and whatever else they need, space and shelter and water. The next option, once their land area becomes less, of course, is to venture into neighborhoods. You know, when they start venturing into neighborhoods, that's when you have a lot of people-monkey contact, and that's where a lot of problems start. You know, it's the monkeys attempting to survive, and they do quite well on their own, and they'll make the best of a bad situation. So as the airport expands and as development comes in, I foresee some problems in the future with these monkeys.
These exotic holly trees that have taken over a lot of Florida's native plant life have become a real problem in the environment. But the green monkeys have depended on the berries as a large part of their diet. The dominant male will be leading his troop into dangerous territory during their foraging for the day. This adolescent has taken a risk by crossing the road to feed on some delicious but scarce palm dates. Although the green monkeys are primarily savanna dwellers, they do spend a lot of time in the trees, in this environment they have been forced into. The trees provide a good hiding and resting place. They blend in so well with their surroundings that they could easily go unnoticed. If their early morning foraging has satisfied their appetites, they will take time out for a mid-afternoon nap. The toes and fingers, which are very similar to humans, are much better equipped for gripping onto things that are smooth and slippery. The blue scrotal skin of a male guenon fades when age and challengers force him to take a subordinate rank. The cushioning sitting pads enable these monkeys to rest comfortably in this very rugged habitat. Grooming a young female, this adult male rids her of dirt and parasites. A common social contact among primates, grooming maintains friendly relations within a troop. The gravets, the vervets, and the green monkeys are guenons that are known collectively as grass monkeys. They live in groups that, if living conditions are favorable, can have as many as 50 members. This is a troop that has declined in population from 24 to 14 in just 1 year, from March of '93 to March of '94. With the young guenons, there is no place that is a wrong place for playtime. All this noise in a new mysterious place is a frightening experience for this young one. This group of guenons takes advantage of some fresh rainwater they have come upon, since their habitat consists of mainly brackish water. The personality is starting to come out on this 4-month-old. He is already adventurous and rambunctious. There seems to have been a purpose for taking this route behind this commercial district. For the most part, it seems as though the monkeys have learned how to handle the busy traffic on this road. But there have been numerous fatalities from them crossing these streets to forage for more delicious food sources. Just having a little snack on the way to the big feast. The sea grapes from this sea grape tree is one of the fruits these monkeys will risk their lives for. This is one of the half-dozen late and prolific bloomers that will have been stripped bare in just a few days. Young guanins indulge in chasing and wrestling as young primates do the world over. They will even invent games of their own, such as King of the Mountain. The offspring get plenty of attention from all of the troop, but are always waiting for some motherly grooming. Even with all of the loving care the alpha female gives her offspring, there must also be discipline instilled into the young. The alpha female is also a role model for the younger females who are learning and preparing for motherhood. The new offspring are constantly exploring this unfamiliar and complex world of theirs, and sometimes run into some difficulties. But Mother is always there to encourage them to venture away to voyages of discovery. The monkeys will continue their venture through the mangroves to one of their special feeding places. We have Russ Bergeson here with us, who lives in the neighborhood where the Dania monkeys have their habitat. The mangroves are right across the street from him here, in fact. Russ, can you tell me if you get a chance to see the monkeys very much over here?
Well, back about a month ago, they were frequent visitors, but the last 2 weeks I haven't seen any. I guess maybe our orange crop is running out, or they found another place to feed.
Well, that's how you were able to see them. They were coming after your oranges over here in your backyard.
When our orange crop was ready to pick, they visit us almost every day. Yeah. They helped us with our crop. Highway, you know, they have to cross that Fifth Avenue to get here, and that can be dangerous for the monkeys. You know? Yes,
I'm sure. That's how some of them have gotten killed, because they are putting their lives in jeopardy every time they cross the street. Males start associating mostly with other males soon after they are yearlings, and females develop close relationships within the female matriline. Mother's affection and responsibility to her offspring is very strong, and she is keeping a close watch to assure no harm comes to her baby. One of the great things we share with these primates is their joyful playtime. Mother is eating twice as much these days as she normally would, so she can get the nourishment and energy that is needed to take care of her offspring. Because we as human beings, the most intelligent of the primate family, still feel some close connection with these monkeys, we have taken it upon ourselves to adopt them as a specially unique group within the animal community. The citizens of Dania feel a strong responsibility to work out the very best solutions to protect the monkeys from the dangers that confront them every day outside of their natural habitat.
Prohibit the feeding and molestation of monkeys and other wild animals, and the corporate limits of the city of Dania, providing for penalties, providing for confiscation, providing for all orders or parts of orders and all resolution, parts of resolution in conflict, be repealed to the extent of such conflict and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this is second reading. Anyone from the audience want to speak for or against this item?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like to move 4.5.
Have a motion and a second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Vice Mayor White. Yes, you can tell they all lined up now.
I'm going to vote no because Commissioner Bertino got to do it once, and I want to do it. I'm going to vote no. Well, hold on. On 4.5 also, I would like to request, I asked before for a sign to be put up at Dania Beach Boulevard saying monkey crossing. I'd like to reiterate I want that put up.
Well, you can have people stopping and waiting for the
I'm going to change my vote like Commissioner Bertino. Yes.
Thank you. That's better. All right.
Super will vote for it.
Yes.
Would you like to see Westlake Park maybe take advantage of a very unique asset here, and maybe utilize the monkeys somehow within their park so that the public can appreciate them and see them?
I don't know how they could quarantine them to an area, but it would be a great asset, I think, to the environment there and to the people of the community to know that we had a chimpanzee farm and how they happen to become part of our community. They don't seem to bother anybody that I know of.
It's certainly an asset to the city, it's an asset to the county, an asset to the state of Florida. The county should take advantage of their Westlake Park being on the perimeter. In fact, we're sure the monkeys do at times reside in Westlake Park property. It's an asset to the county, and we would hope, we've tried to speak with the individuals at the county. Unfortunately, right now, the main man who apparently knows Westlake like the back of his hand, they say, is on vacation, won't return until after July 6th. So we're hoping to get in touch with him immediately, and we anticipate his cooperation.
If they would go along with, and since it is a reserve over there, I understand animals as well as plant life, I think this is the natural thing for them to do. Take responsibility for these monkeys who have been here, and they've taken the property, they're developing the property for such, and they came with the property. Why do they have to suggest relocating them?
Yeah. These wetlands are of extreme importance to the marine food chain and the protected habitat it provides. It also serves an aesthetic value within a high-density urban area. The 1,400-acre coastal mangrove preserve abounds in plant and animal life, including some threatened and endangered species. These tricolored heron have pinpoint accuracy for snatching minnows and other aquatic life. The snowy egret is admired for its winter plumage. Sometimes mistaken for the flamingo, the roseate spoonbills are always a beautiful attraction. The great egret almost faced extinction when their mating plumage was in demand for ladies' hats back in the 20s. The North American wood stork, one of the largest flying birds in North America, is on the federal endangered species list. These yellow-crowned night herons have established a rookery in the mangrove preserve, along with the white ibis, which feeds mostly on small crabs. And of course, there's always the masked bandit to be found in the mangroves, the raccoon. The green monkeys of Dania have established their habitat in these mangroves long before there was a park, a marina, or houses developed in the area. And they will be depending more and more on maintaining this habitat for their survival. Would you rather see the monkeys here in this habitat where they are now, but more controlled,
Yes,
so that they're not in the eye of the public?
Yes.
Rather than have this organization, critter control, take over and take them away.
Right. Let me state another statement there, how I would feel. If I feel that critter control could provide better habitat than what they are in now, yes, I would go along with critter control, relocating the monkeys, meaning a doctor to take care of them, fed like they should be, into a zoo or chimpanzee farm where these monkeys originally ancestors came from back in the 50s. Yes, I would go along with that. But if they can't, they are better off here in their native habitat than in some strange habitat where they won't be cared for or experimented upon.
What I'm for is whatever happens, I'm for the monkey, and I don't want to see them taken to some laboratory and cut up and experiment with eye materials like they do with rabbits and put them blind to see if some woman can't wear some kind of mascara. I'm for that.
Ideally, yes. Ideally, that's our goal, is to keep the monkeys here in Dania where they've been for 40 years. Mm-hmm. And with the help of the local citizenry and the state of Florida, we may be able to do that.
I think they should be left alone. They've been here a long time now, and they've survived, and I think that's great.
Being that these monkeys have survived all these years now out in the mangroves, and they're pretty much blended in with the environment, I think that they have probably earned the right to be just another natural animal out in the Florida wild. So I am hoping that maybe we can keep them in their natural habitat somehow, and they'll be able to continue on out there, just like all the other wild animals in the mangroves, because I'm sure that they haven't been competing with any of the other wildlife, and they should be able to blend in very well. Well, they've proven that they've blended in very well for almost 45 years now. So I think it's nice that they can be an addition to the Florida wildlife here, and I hope everybody enjoys them. With the airport expansion and other development threatening the monkeys' habitat, they have overcome much adversity through the years and have a great ability for adapting to changes in their environment. The offspring will gradually be introduced to the Gwinnett female matriline, which consists of a closely knit social group of grandmothers, aunts, cousins, and sisters. The females are the backbone of the Gwinnen community. They feel a strong solidarity and will dedicate their entire lives to their social group. It is difficult for a yearling to adjust to being left on its own after the mother has a newborn and starts to devote all of her attention to the new offspring. The female Gwennens, who have not reached sexual maturity to bear young of their own, cannot resist wanting to hold and cuddle the new offspring in the family. This dominant male in the hierarchy is probably around 20 years old and has 2 or 3 adult females and as many as 8 offspring. He will not tolerate another adult male, hence the bobbing of the head to signal the females for some attention. Male Gwennens develop their sexual maturity at 5 or 6 years. The males are less socially committed to the troop and are usually in search for a mate. If successful, the lower-ranking adult male will try to challenge the dominant male to take over the troop. An infinite understanding of these primates offer us a mirror on our own humanity. If we can see the likeness in the reflection, it might make us a more caring and compassionate human being towards these fascinating relatives of ours and all of nature.